Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I just got done a short while ago watching the season finale of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. Season 3. And I'll be giving my impression on the season overall. I did mention in one of my earlier reviews, I forget if it was a movie or television review, that instead of doing any season, episode by episode reviews, I was just going to do, at the end of the season, I'll do a summary review. I will also, in this video, be getting to the recent announcement of the cancellation of Agent Carter and I guess you would call it the aborted series, because you can't call it pre-cancellation, that's just weird, of Marvel's Most Wanted, the spin-off of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. announced. But first, let's get into this season. This season, I really... I liked it. There was some problems in that this season, more than any other one, I really felt like, why aren't they calling in the Avengers? And I'm normally the person that will justify most why you don't call in the whole crew in the MCU. Even Iron Man 3, I was like, well, that makes perfect sense. They didn't call in Steve Rogers or anyone else in that series, and that movie. And if you really watch it, I could explain the whole thing, and I want to go on a massive tangent. But it makes sense why, even in that movie, they didn't call in the Avengers. Here, though, you know, season 2, they actually did call in the Avengers at once, and that actually sets up Age of Ultron, where I'm watching this. I'm assuming you probably saw season 2 and Age of Ultron. You probably already know, but just in case, the whole beginning of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. or Age of Ultron, the reason they know where that base is because the Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. find out. Give the information to Maria Hill because they have determined that it's too big for them to take care of, so they let the Avengers take care of it. Which, that wasn't a half-bad tie-in, actually. Weaker with the, they still dropped the ball with not having any of the agents on the helicarrier later in that movie. And I think they could have hinted at that a little bit more, but I digress. This season, really with the twin threats of Malik in the first half, where it's quite clear he is up to some really serious stuff, and then in the second half of the season with Ward, I should call him proper name, Hive, coming back, you really are kind of left there going, why didn't they call in the Avengers? Because it's established relatively early or late in the season. Yeah, I think it was only last episode is the episode that. So the penultimate episode is the tie-in with Civil War, which meant all the crap that was going on before them. There really wasn't much to be worried about. You know, there was that was the major threat facing the world. That really, and they were apparently going on for months doing this back and forth battle between Hydra and their new Inhuman army and Hive. Yeah, this would be the time to call in the Avengers. Season 2, there was much more of a spy versus spy thing going on between them and Hydra, and then even later with the Inhuman situation, you got the sense when that finally boiled over and became a problem that was within a very short time period where you could see why they didn't have time to call in the Avengers. They did their own strike thing, and even then it was something that they felt they could handle. This season, not so much, and I hope they kind of tune that back a bit. Now, I will say the tie-in with Civil War this season was pretty damn weak. They really have Coulson and Talbot have a 5-minute discussion in a bar about it, and even then, I mean, actually, Talbot gives better justification for the whole Sokovia pro-registration argument in this series than they did in the movie proper, where he just kind of points out all the crap that's going on. He's like, see, this is why we kind of need this crap. We kind of need to know what people are capable of, so we know that the Inhuman mind controller can control all the other humans, we should know that and be able to identify that. But even then, they're at least a little bit more mature with that and have both sides go, we might have a disagreement, but damn, we've got a world-ending threat we really need to address right now. So let's gonna put that to the side and deal with it and deal with this. And that's the extent. That's really, really weak. Part of their problem is, again, season 2, they kind of blew the Civil War plot, where they had the quote real S.h.i.e.L.D. That had a different view of the Inhumans. So that really would have been a much better tie-in with this, with the Civil War. The Pym particle never comes into play. From Ant-Man came out, of course, before Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. started, and there was one reference with Simmons, with Fitz investigating. They referenced Fitz was investigating that incident because he thought it could lead him to Simmons. And that was about it. There wasn't any proper tie-in. So really it was Civil War, and you really felt, especially this coming so late in the season, and therefore it would have been also one of the later episodes written, that they could have at least by that point gotten a hold of the Civil War script and could have thought of something to tie into Civil War a little bit more. Whether maybe getting Martin Freeman to show up as his character from the movie, perhaps starting to establish the agents. Well, I don't know. There really was maybe some reference to the raft that they had set up in Civil War, like maybe S.h.i.e.L.D. helped Talbot build that to house people, to house like superhumans and such. That would have been an interesting idea. Like, oh, maybe they capture a couple of humans. Well, where are we going to keep them? Well, I have a facility, Coulson. We built this raft facility. That would have been a good little tie-in there. And at least that would have been more than what they did. So I'm disappointed in that. However, what I'm not disappointed in from this season was the villains. The villains did an excellent job this season. Both Powers Booth, who's always great as Gideon Malik here, but he's great in anything he does, really. It's really not he's like the definitive bad guy in everything he does. Excellent setup, and then also kind of sympathetic at the end, and that's something they did with both villains. Because when he's somewhat of a broken man because Hive kills his daughter and all this stuff. He just turns, and essentially they wipe out Hydra in this movie. And I kind of wonder, even though the television and the movie side don't always talk too much to each other, I am left kind of wondering if perhaps this is an indication that really the movies are going to be moving on from Hydra as well. They've used them. Civil War, there was one guy from Hydra that was hiding in suburbia, all paranoid, like they're going to come and get him any moment. I guess then the explanation is, because basically in this season, after Malik turns himself in or gets captured, I forget, he spills the beans, and they pretty much eliminate all of Hydra. But again, as I mentioned earlier, the whole Pym particle thing, because an Ant-Man, a person from Hydra, gets a hold of the Pym particle, we don't see what happens with that. It doesn't come into play. Perhaps that'll be addressed in the Ant-Man sequel. If not, maybe Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. will pick that up for something else. I don't know. But it seems like a loss. Speaking of loss, fortunately this will be the last season, or at least this appears as like it will be the last season that Brett Dalton will be on, who's really been the main villain throughout the entire series, which is ironic since people complained that he was Agent McBland, how he was Mr. Goody Two-Shoes, was a stereotypical good guy agent. And my God, when they finally turned him and made him evil, he's given a huge variety of villainous performances in this show, where he goes from Stalker Ward to Bonnie and Clyde Ward to, in this season, kind of a mixture of Bonnie and Clyde Ward, which should be sadistic Bonnie and Clyde Ward. It is some weird. That season, once he transitions from Stalker to sadistic Bonnie and Clyde, he does some hilarious and fucked up shit. But in this one, he starts off with like fascist motivational speaker Ward, as he sets up his own branch of Hydra. He has this it's a weird little philosophy, but I say that in a good way. His unusual little performance there, and then it's somewhat intimidating because he's this crazed motivational speaker that says all this crap about self-improvement and such. Well, I wanted to kill you. And then, of course, his portrayal with Hive, as he does a very good job at this being this kind of otherworldly creature. You can there's always something off about him when he does the Hive performance, and I say that in a good way. That's supposed to be how that character is. And I really like the way, by the way, spoilers, full spoilers, I really like the way they killed him off. Not necessarily with the whole nuke thing, that's pretty definitive. But in that, normally, when you're in that situation and it's like, oh no, I've disabled the flight controls and the nuke's counting down and there's nothing you can do. Most other shows and even movies would just have the villain go, Rah! And then the nuke would go off. Here he's rather philosophical and laid back about the whole thing. He's looks around, sees the situation, he goes, yeah, there's nothing I can really do here. I'm gonna die. I'm thousands of years old, so this is a new and interesting experience. He's approaching it extremely maturely. He's I wanted to try to save humanity because I thought this was the right thing, but oh well. And he just sits back and he wants to just watch. Earth is extremely pretty. Lincoln's in there. He's I'm not even gonna try to turn you. We're gonna be connected through death. This is new. We'll chit chat here for a bit. Come on back here and turn around. This is a lovely view. Come on, watch it. And it's a weird little scene, but I really like it. It's a great little death scene for them in that you never see the main villain like this go out this way, where he just accepts it, is rather cool with everything. It's just okay, sure, I guess this is how it's gonna happen. It's a different death scene. I like that. It shows some originality with the writing. Lincoln dying. Lincoln, I don't think anyone ever really liked Lincoln too much. I didn't hate the character. I didn't hate the performance necessarily. His character made sense to a degree. It's just, he was the main protagonist, the love interest. He always were a little, I don't know. There's just something about his performance or that character I just didn't like. But at the same time, I'm kind of disappointed he was the one that died. They said definitively someone was going to die. He was the weak link, you could tell. He was the natural choice, unfortunately. You had the possibility of Yo-Yo dying, but she's been in 3 or 4 episodes, and that would have been the complete cop-out to choose her. Luke Mitchell, at least, has been a series regular this season. So he was the one they could pick that had the least fan support, that they could kill and say, yes, a definitive member of the team has died. and that was it. So nothing against the actor. It's just he, I guess, compared to everyone else, he was the weakest link. So, and the safest to die. But at the same time, I'm like, you could have gone more extreme. But at the same time, I'm kind of happy you didn't, because then you would have probably killed Mac, and we don't want to kill Mac. And the fact that, especially after the fact, he actually made an axe shotgun. That is the most metal weapon ever. They're doing a Punisher series now. I think the Punisher should get a hold of a cop. Like, I knew a guy once. He had this ideal axe shotgun, and he should use that in a Netflix series in the one scene. It would be a good little connecting thing, and I think I could see the Punisher having an axe shotgun. Now, as for the ending scene, I think the big one is like, okay, Coulson's not the director. Who's the director? When they do that, where he's on stakeout, he's not in charge. It'll be very interesting to see. I don't know where they're going with that. I'm assuming they have some sort of plans. So something happened. Obviously, s.h.i.e.L.D. decided to quit s.h.i.e.L.D. and she's kind of gone somewhat rogue. And I'll get into maybe some predictions in a bit. But we'll wait and see. I will kind of wonder if they're hoping they could get Sam Jackson to come back a bit. That would be an interesting thing to do. Or they might be making it that s.h.i.e.L.D. gets completely folded into the ATCU, and that really Talbert's in charge. I don't know exactly where they're going. Especially, I don't know if I'm happy with it, though. Unless it's like Melinda has now taken... if Major May has taken over, maybe I'll be accepting of that. If, like, Coulson just went, I'm too obsessed with getting in the field, you need to take over, you need to be the director now. I could maybe buy that. However, if it's something else, I don't know if I'll be happy, and I'm almost going to predict that it'll be like they'll have Clark Gregg, or Phil Coulson, I should say, as the director of s.h.i.e.L.D. again within a couple episodes. Because we're now, I think if you're a fan of the show, you'd think of him as the director. He is now the director of s.h.i.e.L.D. He's been the director of s.h.i.e.L.D. And then, of course, they're doing something with robots, because they have the crazy doctor, who apparently got off relatively scotch-free. I guess he's been working with s.h.i.e.L.D., and he created a cyborg. Which he wouldn't be the first doctor to do that in the MCU anyway. He's creating, I guess, his own version of Vision. And I'm kind of curious where they're going to be going with that, because looking at the s.h.i.e.L.D., looking at the MCU lineup, I can pull it up here. I know we've got in November. Excuse me. In November we have. They didn't put the years on this. Doctor Strange, which is more magical. I don't see from whatever they've done there how they're going to tie into that. And then they've got Guardians of the Galaxy in 2017, which will probably be about a year from now, I think, if I were to click on, what is there, the US release date on that. Yeah, set for May 5th, so that's sci-fi, and it probably won't happen on Earth. I think there's been some screen leaks, but it looks like that's been for, like, they're dressing the set for it being in the 80s or the 70s or something. So, don't know where they're going with that. So, really, actually, looking at this, this will probably be the year they can really go and do their own thing, where it's not going to cause any problems, shall we say, with what else is happening. I mean, they also got Spider-Man Homecoming, which is, let's see here. They don't. At least July 7th, which would be well after. Well after the end of the season. So I don't know what their plan is. I mean, well, actually, what I mean by that is, as I said earlier, this is the season 4 coming up will be the one they can really have the most flexibility. They really don't have to worry about tying into anything outside of maybe Doctor Strange. But even that film is so off the fucking wall, as far as I can tell. Even I don't know what the hell that's going to really be about. I guess I should probably branch off into now the cancellations. ABC, I think it was this past year, has gotten a new studio president. Or network president, whatever you want to call him. And he, I guess, is not a big Marvel fan. And, well, this is probably fortunately, once these guys come in, the first thing they do is they cancel anything they can so that they will have the most control. All the stuff coming in will be theirs. And Agent Carter was already on the cusp. The only thing preventing it from being canceled is, one, it was a filler seasons that it worked during the mid-season break of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. And two, that it was a critical darling. The critics liked it. It didn't get the best of ratings, though. But a lot of times, studios will keep a critical show going as long as it's not really losing money. New studio president, though, cut that. I'm hoping they resolve some of the plot issues with that by doing some sort of almost the steal from Arrow, where perhaps they tie in the murder of Agent Thompson to something they're currently investigating. Like, oh, it's the same group. Maybe Coulson's looking through files and like, oh, look, it's these the old case files from Agent Carter, and there's something. I've read through these once before, and there was something about this that jogged my memory about that, and they maybe do a parallel story in one episode, to where maybe in the past she finds the assassin, the person that actually pulled the trigger, but not the larger organization, or they can maybe tie that into like why that SSR base was off the books for so long. Like there is maybe something hidden there, like that ties into that. That at least so we can get some resolution on that ending, because they did end season 2 of Agent Carter on a fucking cliffhanger, and the show gets canceled. This is why I hate when shows do this. I mean, it's one thing when you're a very popular show and you are confirmed to be getting another season. Or if you're on a network that will stick by you and will give you time to properly end. Like HBO is very good with that. That's with stuff like Game of Thrones. If they're going to cancel you, they generally will let you know, and they'll give you like a season at least to wrap things up. But if I was on network television, I would never write. I would do stuff very much like comics do. You write in arcs. You have a story arc, and each story arc is your season. So that if I get canceled at any time, boom, my season finale could suffice as a season finale. Defiance, if you watch this Sci-Fi Channel, and they had their series Defiance, only lasted 3 seasons. They really wrote that. Especially season 2 could suffice as a season finale. Season 3 in that show, they were hoping to get a 4th season. They weren't sure. They wrote season 3, the ending, so that it could easily be a series finale. At the same time, you could see how they could restart it. where basically one character winds up flying off into space, and you could go, well, if they did another season, he would come back. If not, he kind of, oh yeah, this guy finally got to live his dream. He's out in space, and he did this huge heroic thing. That's just showing how you should do that stuff right, especially on a show that like this, which has more of a series-long plot. It's not procedural where it's just the case of the week. So that's how I'm hoping they will perhaps give at least the Agent Carter a little bit of a send-off. Yeah, I prefer that than them doing the time travel plot. I don't think they should do that. Because that would be the other thing is, oh, we'll send Fitz and Simmons back in time, and oh, it's Agent Carter. Oh, we need to find out this. Oh, I haven't discovered Agent Thompson's killer. Perhaps you can help me with your future tech. That would be horrible. Do not do the time travel episode. Just don't. Just parallel action. That would be fine. The other thing, of course, is Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. was planning on doing a spin-off featuring Mockingjay, and I always get the guy's name. Okay, and Lance Hunter, and I was about to say, well, I always get his name confused because his real name sounds like an action movie character's name. Nick Blood plays Lance Hunter. I don't know for sure. I'm kind of curious if Nick Blood changed his name at any point, like that's a stage name or something. But regardless, those two were supposed to get a spin-off where they were like hired by some sort of millionaire, and they go on new adventures as former spies, and to the point where they were kind of let go by S.h.i.e.L.D. in an episode where it didn't make a whole lot of sense because they saved the Russian. They said Prime Minister. Yeah, Russia has a Prime Minister and a President. So they saved the Russian Prime Minister's life, but they're kind of just let go. They're not like arrested by the Russians, but S.h.i.e.L.D. has to deny them. It didn't make a whole lot of sense, but it was enough for them to just kind of go away. Oh yeah, you guys have to go. I'll be curious if they decide to bring those two characters back to Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. It probably wouldn't be that hard. Whatever the main antagonist is, you could just have it like they were doing the adventuring thing. They get pulled into this, and they intersect with the S.h.i.e.L.D. plot. So you can. That's how I hope if they're going to do if they're going to bring them back. That's how you can do them. Maybe have them as like a subplot at first. They're doing their own little thing, and eventually, like maybe a quarter of the way through the season, they finally intercept with the main plot and kind of rejoin S.h.i.e.L.D. because of whatever's going on. Perhaps they want to cut the budget or bring in other new characters or people, and they'll just cut those characters out completely and just won't bring them back, and then no, they're retired now and they're enjoying life. I've gone on for almost a half hour. Stay tuned later this week for the Legends of Tomorrow series season 1 review, as well as a review of The Nice Guys. I'll have them uploaded at some point. See you later.